What are the most common mistakes people make when they apply for disability, and how can you avoid these problems? I'm Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney. I represent clients in all 50 states from Maine to California. I'm able to do that because disability hearings are now held by telephone or video, which means they're virtual. So it doesn't really matter where you are or where I am. Hearings are again done virtually. I want to talk to you today about mistakes I see in disability applications, and I try sometimes 3 to 5 cases a week. So I'm looking at applications and forms constantly, and there's certain things I see that people make mistakes on. I also can tell you I live stream every Wednesday night around 8:30 on my YouTube channel. I get a lot of questions about applications, and people will ask me these questions. And again, these are some of the mistakes that I've seen that I think you ought to really try to avoid. First thing is, when you communicate with Social Security, when you fill out an application, fill out a form, remember that the underlying issue, the main issue in your case, is whether you have a medical problem that prevents you from being a reliable employee at a simple entry-level job. That's the case in most situations. When you're over 50 or over 55, it becomes a little bit easier, but big picture, this is about whether you'd be a reliable employee. So everything you tell Social Security really needs to be focused on your vocational capacity, your capacity to work, and problems that you might have trying to get through a day at a job. That's what this is about. It's not about the medical. I get so many people asking me, I have congestive heart failure. I've got a herniated disc. Will I win? My response is, I don't know. The real question is, what is the practical effect, the vocational, the work effect that this problem has? Do you have medication side effects that create issues for you? So when you're filling out the forms, really think about describing how and why your medical issue prevents you from being reliable at a job. So I think first thing is going in, knowing the definition of disability. It's focused on work capacity. Second thing is, when you fill out the forms and you advise Social Security about your case, you need to give them all the information they need to request medical evidence. Social Security is going to request all that evidence from your doctors, from your hospitals. There are many ways they can do it. There is something now called the health information technology, where they can get it really almost immediately, electronically. They can request medical records from medical providers. There's a lot of ways to do it. In fact, I had an adjudicator, a current adjudicator, on my live stream back in October of 2025, and she talked about how they request medical evidence, and she told me, and she told our audience, that they prefer to request the medical evidence. They want to get it so they know that it's complete and it's not been purged of any documentation. They want to get it, but they also find, and she told me, that sometimes they have trouble getting the records because A, the medical provider wants more money than Social Security is willing to pay, or B, and this happens a lot, that the claimant, the person filing, doesn't have the right name of the doctor and misspells it, misspells the hospital name, puts the wrong address for the doctor. So one thing you can do to really help yourself is to make a list of all your doctors and verify that you have the correct address, phone number, fax number for that particular doctor or hospital, so that Social Security will have an easier time getting the records. And if you can, tell your doctor, tell the hospital, you're going to get a request of records from Social Security, please return it. Very, very important to do. Third thing is Social Security, again, because it's so much about vocational capacity, they need to do a work history, and a complete work history. And the reason for that is that one of the steps in evaluating a claim is to determine whether you could return to what they call your past relevant work. So in order for them to know what your past relevant work is, you've got to give a complete work history. They can get the record to show the earnings, but you need to be able to tell them what you did, and tell them what you did specifically in terms of how much you were lifting, how long you were standing, were you reaching, were you bending, were you supervising people. You've got to be very, very specific and stay away from not very much, not very far, not too long. It depends. Every day was different. No, you want to come up with a typical day. I always tell people, if you have a 1 through 10 are your days, 1 is the worst day ever, 10 is the best day ever. Think about a day of 4. That's a 4 day, where it's not the worst, it's not the best, it's just slightly below average. That's what you want to describe what you did. And again, if your part of your job was needing to lift 30 pounds occasionally, then you would put 30 pounds occasionally, because there are some days you would need to do that. So you need to be very consistent with that. If you leave out information about your past work, that's a grounds for them to deny your case, because they don't know what your past work was, and they're not going to take the time to find out or guess. Along those lines, when they send you forms or ask on the application about your functional limitations, you want to, again, stay away from not very much, not very far, not too long. There's a form in particular, Form 3373. Spend some time on that form. Really think about what you did, and don't minimize what you did. Even if you had to do something once a month, you did inventory once a month, once every 2 months, and it required you to lift 50 pounds, I would say that you did 50 pounds occasionally, because that's part of your job duties. And even though it wasn't all the time, it was enough where it's an integral part of your job. So you want to make sure you do that and describe that carefully. And then the final point would be deadlines. Social Security will send you these forms. A lot of times their turnaround time is only a week or two. Get it back by the deadline. If you need more time, let them know. They'll usually give you more time. But you want to get these forms back by the deadline so that you don't miss out. What they will do, if you don't get it back in time, they'll just go ahead and decide the case without the information they need. So there's a lot to be said about filing an application properly. I do them for people. My office does them for people all the time. I realize some people want to do it on their own. They can hopefully get approved and not have to pay an attorney's fee. I get that. Doesn't offend me or bother me. On the other hand, if you fill out the application wrong, it's going to get denied. If your case is one where you have multiple medical issues, not one thing that is bothering you, a lot of times those cases are not going to get approved early. It's a combined effect, and the adjudicators at the state agency are not going to really make a decision about the combined effect of things. If it makes you uncomfortable filling out all these forms or trying to understand what they're asking, then reach out to me. We're more than happy to jump in and assist you if you need us to. If you do it on your own and you get turned down, we take cases in at recon denial. We take cases in after hearing request at any point in time. I don't get offended by that. It's just, I realize people are trying to save money, and I respect that. I get that. But at some point, don't be dollar wise and pound foolish, because you need to make sure it's done correctly. And especially after you request a hearing, there's nobody to be updating the medical records. That's something that I do, or you would do as a claimant. They just don't tell you that. So the last thing you want to do is get in front of a judge when you're doing it on your own, and only to find out that the last year and a half there have been no updated records. That can be a real issue. Or that you have a date last insured problem, you don't know what that means, that your insurance credits ran out, and you don't know that you had to prove your disability began 2.5 years ago, and you don't have the evidence to prove that. So there are some technical issues, things that arise. At the very least, it's worth talking to an attorney just to see if doing it on your own makes a lot of sense. And if not, we only get paid if we win. So that's something just to keep in mind. Bottom line is, if we can be of assistance to you, reach out to me. My website is ssdanswers.com. I have a free download, a Secrets to Winning Disability Survival Kit, which is delivered by email. You can get a case evaluation, doesn't cost anything. And finally, if you're so inclined, every Wednesday evening around 8:30, I jump online for 2 hours and do a live stream, answer questions from people, try to help them navigate this very confusing program. And if I can be of help to you, I'd love to see you there Wednesday evenings at 8:30, sometimes 8:45, usually about 8:30. And I hope again to see you there. This is Jonathan Ginsberg, wishing you the best. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the Survival Kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.